welcome to Learn DVine Music. This is your music theory teacher, Miss Vine. Welcome to the video. Lesson 4. Chords. This video is part 2. For today's lesson, we will be discussing extended chords. These chords aren't as simple as part 1. Starting with power chords, these chords are easy to learn, however hard to place in a chord progression. To create a power chord, you use a root note and the perfect fifth note. These two-note chords are known as power chords because of their powerful and punchy sounds. Power chords are technically intervals but are known as chords because of the impact of usage in rock and metal music. Here is an example of a power chord. This chord uses the notes C and G. They create a power chord because C is the root note and G is the perfect fifth. Moving on to suspended chords. Swap the third note of a triad with either the second or fourth note of a scale. These chords are used to build suspense. Without the third note, suspended chords don't have the typical major or minor tonality. They sound mysterious and are neutral chords. These chords are also known as intervals. Suspended chords create tension, making your ears crave a resolution. I've mentioned the fourth and second note changes. That's because there are two suspended chords, suspended second and suspended fourth. There are no other types of suspended chords. Suspended four chords replace the third note of a triad with the fourth note, creating an unresolved sound. They were really prominent in classical music and remain influential today. The key characteristics of a suspended four chord: they create tension by changing the normal third note. They're less stable than a suspended two chord. Their resolution to a regular chord provides a sense of completion, and they're often used in perfect cadences. Suspended two chords replace the third note of a chord with the second, creating a unique sound. Unlike suspended fourth chords, suspended second chords are more stable and can stand alone in a progression. Suspended two chords strike a balance between tension and resolution, making them more versatile in various musical contexts. The chord's slight instability keeps listeners engaged, even without chord changes. A descending bass line adds extra movement, creating a sense of progression. While suspended two can resolve to standard triads, this resolution isn't as typical as with suspended fourth. How to use suspended two chords. They're used to jazz up cadences for an old school vibe, tone down overly bright chords, add interest to long-held chords to break up a drone, and as quick embellishments which can be tricky. Moving on to a seventh chord. The seventh chords are the final types of chords we need to go over. A seventh chord uses the typical triad and adds the seventh note. There are 5 types of seventh chords: the major seventh, dominant seventh, minor seventh, half diminished seventh, and diminished seventh. We will not be going over the half diminished seventh. To create a dominant seventh chord, use a major triad and add a minor seventh. A minor seventh is the seventh note of a minor scale. An example of a dominant seventh is the C dominant seventh, which is C, G, E, and B flat, which is the last note of C minor. It sounds like this. The dominant seventh is the dominant of the scale, the 5th degree, resolving strongly to the tonic/first chord. A major seventh is similar to the dominant seventh, however uses the major seventh rather than minor seventh to go with a major triad. An example of a major seventh is C major seventh, which is C, G, E, and B. It sounds like this. We use B rather than B flat because it's the 7th note of C major. The major seventh is frequently used in jazz, pop, and soul for its dreamy, sophisticated sound, and they're very stable. Moving on to a minor seventh. A minor seventh uses the minor triad and adds the 7th note of the minor scale. An example of a minor seventh would be C minor seventh, which is C, E flat, because it's the minor third, G, and B flat, which is the minor seventh. It sounds like this. Moving on to the diminished seventh. These chords are used to create tension within gospel, jazz, pop, and classical genres. To create a diminished seventh, you use the root note, minor third, diminished fifth, and then the diminished seventh. For C diminished, it would be the root note, which is C, minor third, which is E flat, the diminished fifth, which is G flat, and then the diminished seventh, which is A. It sounds like this. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.